from this world.
What's up guys, Chris here bringing you guys another Legends of Runeterra video, and today I'm going to be going over, as the title said, some cards, more specifically champion cards that need to be added to LOR. Now in this video I'm going to go over one champion idea that I have for each region outside of Mount Targon, because the one that I was going to put in this video was going to be Zoe, but since Zoe's going to be coming out this week, I decided to not throw it in there. And the only other character I could really do from Mount Targon would be Pantheon, and I haven't really decided on anything for Pantheon yet. Now this video is going to be kind of a very broad type of informational video, and when you guys see these champion cards, like I said, these are my concepts, and I will be releasing a video on each one of these champions in more detail. Make sure you guys comment down below which ones you guys would like to see first. And as always, make sure you guys like and subscribe. Keep subbing, keep letting me know what you guys think of the card content. Hoping to keep bringing some more stuff in the future. So first we're going to start with Noxus. And the idea that I had here, actually let me move my webcam here a little bit. So you can put it right. I guess it's fine there. That's fine. So the first one, as you guys can see here, is going to be Mr. SION. So SION to me is one of the most I would call him probably my favorite Noxus character outside of Swain, who's already obviously in the game. SION would work very, very well in this card game. I think one of the big things for him, he would be a very big, as I put in here, a very good mid-game wall. A character who Noxus doesn't really have one of those type of characters. Obviously they have things like Swain, who has a very high health total, as well as Darius, who has a very high attack and a pretty high health total for that matter too, but they don't really have something that really can be used as a wall outside of like battering ram. So the idea of this character is to be sort of the front line sort of general on the field for your followers. Now he would have a keyword called War Master, which I will kind of explain, like, and you'll see this in every one of these champions. They'll have a new keyword that I've kind of come up with. But just think of a character who's able to kind of buff his entire board in a way that kind of shows that he is kind of the general on the field here. And a very unique play when it comes to board spacing, and this kind of goes with his keyword skill called War Master, is where do you position him on the board? The only other character who has really specific board positioning is going to be Vlad. Whenever a target is to the right of him now, he drains 1 damage and deals that 1 damage to the Nexus. You kind of get what I'm saying with that. He also, I feel, would have a last breath keyword, considering his character in League of Legends, whenever he dies, he does summon or he basically goes berserk for like 5 or 6 seconds, and it's basically an undying version of himself. Now, some theorized synergies that I do have for Singed as of right now would be something like Mount Targon, Ionia, or Shadow Isles. The Shadow Isles idea would be very, very interesting. I have a concept in my head with like Scion and Hecarim. That would be very, very cool. And also the other two, just because they do have a lot of defensive spells. And something like Taric would work really, really well with Scion too. Going into the next character is going to be Singed. He is from PNZ. More specifically, he's from Z. He's from Zion. But since they're kind of together, or Zon, that's not Zion. But since they're kind of together, he's from PNZ. So Singed is another character who is would be kind of a heavy, big character, which if you think of what PNZ has, they don't really have any of that stuff. Currently, they have Vi, who is probably the most tankiest character that they have, and it's really because of the tough keyword skill, not really to do with her actual health or anything, because I think she has what, 3 or 4. Which is pretty decent, but she's not really there to protect you in a sense. She's more there to try to win the game. That's what her whole thing is with her level up and her striking ability and all that kind of stuff. Singed would have a new keyword skill called Inflict, which would be very, very interesting when it came to wide boards, in particular wide boards that your opponent would be playing. This gives PNZ a very large body for mid game, which I feel is where PNZ kind of lacks. You either go for the you either go for the Ezreal sort of idea, where you're basically doing everything in the background and then playing Ezreal and then using all these spells. You're either doing Teemo, where you're kind of doing the same idea, and then Heimer, he just plays out a bunch of robots. Vi is sort of the only one that has that sort of demeanor about her, where it's, you can put her on the field and she's there to actually, she can maybe last a few turns without having to, get pinged down by spells. So we need a big character in PNZ, and I think Singe would feel right at home with that. And he would create a new archetype that I called Tallburn, which will make more sense, like I said, in the video. Now, some theorized synergies for him would be Noxus, Shadow Isles, and Bilgewater, because they have pinging abilities. Since he would kind of be a part of this sort of tall / burning sort of style, you would want other regions that deal a lot of damage with spells, or they're very aggressive. So I picked the 3 most aggressive ones. I can see a build where him and Darius would be really, really strong together, or him and Draven even, and maybe like go hard with him, or Bilgewater. You can do a lot of the Misfortune stuff as well. Next one is going to be Shadow Isles, and we have Mordekaiser. When you look at the Shadow Isles roster, everything is pretty weak in my opinion. Hecarim is, Hecarim's when his level up condition is a little difficult to do, and Ephemerals right now are not extremely strong. Callista's okay. She doesn't get killed by Calling Strike, weak things like that, but she's still kind of a weird character. And Maokai is a kind of a specialty deck. You're not really, he's not there to do a lot of damage. He's there to, mill your opponent out. And then Elise is probably the best character, but being at a 2/3, there are matchups where she is completely useless. There are matchups where she actually is really, really good. But that's really the only one in my opinion. I think Mordekaiser would fit sort of a, as you put it here, a single target strat, very similar to something that Fiora has in Demacia, where it's you're really focused on keeping this one character alive as your win condition. Kind of would be the same thing with Mordekaiser. So he would have a new keyword skill called Siphon, which would work as almost a backwards version of supported abilities, which I won't give away too much there. But this archetype that would focus around Mordekaiser would really focus around adding more support keyword, or more support / keyword skill units to SI, which currently they only have one, which pluses and gives Ephemeral, which is, like I said, really only good for the Hecarim idea. But he would have some supported characters in there that would maybe boost the Siphon keyword. He also would have a very strong solo interruption ability. I have a hint, it is something to do with his ultimate that he uses in League of Legends, and like I said in the video, I'll go over a lot more of that stuff, but I think this could be a very interesting character with some synergies in Demacia, Freljord, and Mount Targon, giving him some defensive options, whether it's Take Heart, whether it's Riposte or Barrier abilities, or pairing him with Taric so he gets tough, or using things like Spell Shield as well. Demacia, we have Galio. Now, Galio is probably one who is going to get announced this week, so if he does, sorry. I think Galio is going to end up getting announced either in this next expansion or the one afterwards. We already have a card in the game called Stony Suppressor, which is, if you look at the card art, the girl who's in that card art is actually working on Galio's shoulder. And the ability that card has is it increases all spells by 1. This is a Galio ability. If you guys play League of Legends, Galio is an anti-magic mage. I don't know why I said magic that way. An anti-magic mage. So he would obviously be part of an anti-spell concept, which would be very crazy right now in the meta. If Go Hard costed 2 or 3 every single round, you see a lot less Go Hard decks, which would be kind of nice. He would have a new keyword skill called Reflect, and I think this, paired with the Elite archetype, could make Demacia a standout region. Demacia right now is one of the weakest regions, I think, overall in the game. when it comes to meta presence. It doesn't have a lot. Obviously, outside of Fiora Shen, which is the most notable one right now, it's extremely good. And a lot of that has to do, not really with the Demacia cards, but with the Ionia cards. But being able to just protect Fiora with Ionia cards, and then obviously you throw in some of the abilities that you can use in Demacia, some of the combat tricks, it makes it a very strong archetype. But mono Demacia with elites is not very strong. It's very RNG heavy, even more so than in normal cases. But I think with this Galio concept, it can make Demacia a top tier region, at least for a few patches, maybe a few expansions, until they found something that actually made it, you know, kind of a counter to it. And he would have a high health, low power total. I just put this on his character, just because I know with Demacia right now, Garen's a really high damage type of character. Shyvana is the same way. He would kind of probably fall in between Quinn, probably Quinn and Fiora when it came to power, but his health would be pretty high. And he would have some synergies with Noxus, Ionia, and Freljord. Other things that either decks that don't use a lot of spells. So Ionia decks that use a lot of buffing spells, Freljord they use a lot of buffing spells, or buffing characters with buffing skills, I should say. So he would kind of probably fit in one of those type of builds where you're not really running a lot of spells. Maybe you're running 5 to 10 spell cards and the rest of them are followers and champions. Who knows? But I think Galio would be a very interesting character to have in the game. Next is going to be Lysandra. This is from Freljord. She would make sense in the game, considering we already have her other two sisters, which is Ashe and Sejuani, who both have very different playstyles. Ashe is a very mid-range type of tempo deck, while Sejuani generally falls in the late game, finishing category. She's supposed to be your late game finisher, and she does a very good job of that. Now, Lysandra is the only one out of the 3 that really focuses on being magic. And that's one thing we don't really have in this game as a Freljord spell-based deck. Obviously, we have the Freljord SI decks with Feel the Rush and 12-drop spell card with Mother card, whatever the heck that card's called. I've never played that deck before, so I don't even know what the card's called. But you don't really see a lot of Freljord spell-based decks. So it'd be really cool to see a primary Freljord deck maybe mixed in with some PNZ, maybe mixed in with some SI for spells. Be a very interesting concept. She would also really support the Frostbite archetype, but she would have a new spell type called Frozen Tomb, which would be very, very strong, being able to lock followers and even champions out of not just one turn, but maybe multiple turns. Think of a combination of Karma and Ashe. That's kind of where you would find Lysandra being. Next is going to be Alawi. She is for the Bilgewater section. Now, Bilgewater doesn't have that many other characters left. They have Graves and Pike outside of Alawi. So far, at least what lore-wise, I think, with what's in Bilgewater. So we're kind of running out of ideas with Bilgewater, but I think Alawi would be very, very interesting. So she would give birth to a new tall bilge concept, and kind of a concept similar to what Fiora has for utility. One big thing, she does summon a lot of tentacles in League of Legends when you're next to different terrains, and that's something that she would use in this deck. Think of having a character who summons characters for free, who have very high damage totals, very low life, but you can spam the board with these and just kind of overwhelm your opponent with giant tentacles. Very, very strong concept, I feel, and she would have a very, very unique ability where she's able to somewhat do a backwards version of Challenger. And you guys will see kind of what I'm talking about. So theorized synergies would be Noxus, SI, and Freljord. These would just be very heavy damage concepts. So Noxus obviously with Overwhelm, Freljord with Overwhelm and Plunder stuff, as well as SI being able to stack a lot of damage in maybe Undying units or in Ephemeral units. Could be a very, very strong concept, but Alawi would definitely change how people play Bilgewater or even maybe look at Bilgewater as something more than just I'm going to deal Nexus damage and steal cards from you, which is kind of what I think of them. And the last one, but not least, is going to be Ahri from the Ionia region. And Ahri's concept I found to be very enjoyable, just because I don't think there's anything in the game currently like this. And this brings me to a very interesting card type from the physical card game that I play, which is Dragon Ball Super, which is a card or a champion or character called Toa, where Toa is able to take control over different units, and not just for a turn, but for the eternity of the game. Very interesting concept, and I thought Ahri, with having her charm ability that she has in the game, would be very, very similar. So she would have a mind controlling like archetype with a new keyword called attract, and the idea would be to basically steal your opponent's followers and use them against them to beat them. And one interesting thing that I won't go into too much detail with it, but the idea would be that whenever you take or you attract one of the followers, they would gain their on-play effect. So if you had a character who had a when I'm summoned do this, when I'm in play do this, it would have that same effect. Basically giving Ahri a unlimited amount of synergy with anything that she's playing against, because she can take any follower and have that same sort of effect on it. So very, very cool idea. So hopefully you guys like this video. Like I said, this is just sort of an overview of what I'm going to be doing. You guys will see these videos dropping over the course of the next week, and maybe another week after, because I'm gonna have to mix in some reveal videos as well. But let me know which one of these characters you guys would like to see first. Like I said, this video is just kind of an overview of giving my idea of what characters should be added to the game. And I do have some custom cards that I will go over with the ideas, with the keywords and everything else like that. So make sure you guys stick around for that. Make sure you guys like and subscribe as well. Thank you guys for the continued support, and we'll see you guys in the next video.